Hey guys, Brian Hilliard here, author of the best-selling book Networking Like a Pro and creator of the popular program Unlocking the Mindset of Success. And I got to tell you, I am fired up here today because we are going to talk about something that has come up in absolutely everyone's life. I mean, there are 330 million Americans here in the United States. I want to say there's 8 billion people in the whole world. I think 1 billion is just in mainland China. So what I want to be able to talk about though is this is something that has come up with everybody, okay? And it's something that has absolutely inhibited people's success. It has roadblocked them. And you'll know it as soon as I say it, the inner critic. Now, I wanted to be able to find like some of the music, like that ominous music, like from Star Wars, right? When the Emperor comes in, dun 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 dun, dun and then it kicks in, dun 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 dun, right? And it like, oh my God, this guy is, Emperor Palpatine starts coming in. You're like, oh my goodness, this is going to be tough. But the inner critic for a lot of people is a similar type deal because, I talk about this a lot. Success in my mind is a lot less about learning something new that works and more about unlearning something old that doesn't, which is why you see a lot of people, they are going and they're pushing and they're doing all these things, right? And they're reading books and going to conferences and doing all these things. They still haven't gotten to that level of success that they would want. And part of it might be the fact that, and a good part of this actually comes down to the fact that they are inadvertently engaging in a series of activities that's also holding them back. So what I talk about is this idea of having their foot on the brake and the gas at the same time, right? Which is why you see a lot of people who are going through and reading books and going to conferences and doing all these things, and they're just still not quite getting the same level of results as somebody else who's doing the exact same thing, even though they have the exact same skill set, training, and work ethic. They are literally holding themselves back, which brings us back to mindset specifically and the inner critic even more specific. So the inner critic, just in case you haven't known about this, the inner critic is a conversation in your head. It is the voice. Actually, Jim Murphy does a really good job on this. It's called Inner Excellence. If you haven't had a chance to read the book, I would recommend it. He has a chapter on it. I want to say it's chapter 3, if I'm not mistaken. And he talks about this, the inner critic, the monkey mind, and the trickster. So it's some really, really good stuff. But we're talking about the inner critic here today. The inner critic always wants to have a conversation of you not being good enough. I can't believe you're doing this, right? What are you doing? You're trying to do this and this. You're not good enough to do that. You're not going to be successful. You remember all the times when you've gotten it wrong, right? The inner critic is awesome about remembering all the times that you've gotten it wrong. Not so much about the times you've gotten it right, okay? But it's all about the times you've gotten wrong. And here's the thing the inner critic does. The inner critic doesn't just say, oh, well, you got it wrong and, better luck next time. The inner critic then ascribes it to a personal attribute. It makes it personal. You didn't get this sale, you didn't get this piece of business, you weren't successful with this business or getting this promotion. It's because you're not good enough. Not just because the ball didn't bounce your way, not because just the other person was better that day, that week, that month, not just because it wasn't the right time for that sale. No, you're not good enough. Right? And that's what the inner critic is. Now, how do you silence the inner critic? Because this is something that comes up a lot when I talk about, obviously, unlocking the mindset of success during our program, our mastermind series. All right. The simplest, easiest way, and there might be other ways, but here's the way that I do it, and here's the way I recommend it. You have to understand that who you are is not what you do. Okay, let me say that again. To silence the inner critic, you have to disavow yourself of the notion that who you have to understand that who you are is not what you do. Okay, see, the inner critic wants to have this conversation around the results that you got is a reflection of the person who you are. It didn't, imagine if you went out and played golf or basketball and LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Imagine if you were going out and playing basketball and these guys, every time they miss a shot, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I am terrible. I am a terrible basketball player. I'm just going to have to hang this up right now and just be like, you know what? This isn't apparently my sport. I know I'm 6'7". I know I can dribble. I know I shot 60%, from the field, but I missed 40% of my shots. So I need to stop. Imagine if that was the case. You literally would have professional sports, right? So what happens though is as the inner critic, when you realize that the inner critic wants to have the conversation that who you are is what you do. No. Who you are has nothing to do with what you do. What you do is just what it is that you do, win, lose, or draw. Who you are is how you show up for your family. Who you are is how you show up for your kids. Who you are is how you show up for your friends, and I already said family, and your dogs. You know, I walked Nero today. That's who I am. Who you are is picking people up at the airport when they need help. Who you are is helping somebody move. Who you are is listening for understanding, empathy. Who you are is being a positive role model. Who you are is giving somebody some money if they need it. Who you are is maybe going to church or engaging in a spirituality. That's who you are. What you do, getting business, closing deals, coaching, speaking, whatever you do, working, that's just what you do. Okay, but what happens is, in American society in particular, in Western culture in general, we get that confused. We think that who we are is what we do, and that's how you start getting into the perfectionism. That's how you start getting into the controlling, and that's, what that leads to? That leads to isolating behavior, because adults don't like spending time around other adults who constantly are trying to be perfect and tell them every single time something goes wrong, blaming, counterclaiming, all of this other stuff. It's too much. All right, so if you find yourself in a situation where, hey, listen, you know what, this inner critic is really kind of getting me down, and this mindset thing is really holding me back, all right, you just just say this to yourself: who I am is not what I do. Okay, and then make a list if you want. Make it as a part of your affirmation. I would recommend this, okay? Who I am is how I show up for my family, how I show up for my kids, what I did yesterday. Consider doing a gratitude journal if you want something to really be thankful for. I don't do that right this second, but I've recommended that. Okay, gratitude journal is a great first step towards actually understanding who you are and how you show up, and who you are is this, 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 and this. Has nothing to do with getting the sale or closing the deal or getting more business or the promotion. Okay, so that's my deal in terms of silencing the inner critic. It's a great way to kind of get that behind you. Again, take a look at Jim Murphy's book, Inner Excellence. It's a really, really great deal. And while you're at it, swing on by our private Facebook group. It's a free deal, and we'd love to be able to have you. It is thefasttracksuccessclub.com. It is a group of like-minded individuals and entrepreneurs who are looking to do things that accelerate their results and help them reach their goals faster. I drop in with some Facebook Lives. I do some other value adds. I got some motivational quotes. It's a great way if you want to ask me some questions. I respond back to that, and you will be good to go. And as always, feel free to like, share, or comment below. You know how I love those comments. I answer all of those personally, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. But in the meantime, my name is Brian Hilliard, saying so long, take care, and thanks so much for your time.